Welcome to our third episode of the Weekly Burn podcast this summer. Ian Nicholas alongside Dylan Pescatore. And today we've got a special guest for the first time in 2 years doing this podcast. We've sometimes aired some pre-recorded interviews. This one is live in the moment with one of the players who we just have to talk to right now with the way he's swinging the bat. Gonzaga's Hudson Shupe. Hudson, I know you've kind of joined us on the broadcast a couple of times this year, including that foggy day in Falmouth, but thanks so much for joining us right now.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
So, man, you've been so hot from the plate. You started this summer, day one guy with the Firebirds. And, as we're talking to you right now, which is before the Chatham game on Sunday night, 6-game hit streak, 5 games in a row for you where you've got multiple hits. But where have you kind of made the tweaks into your game, your approach from the plate as this summer has gone on?
Just starting to consistently play more, so that helps. And then from like a hitting standpoint, I feel like I'm doing a good job shrinking the strike zone and swinging at pitches I know I can handle and not chasing as much as I have in the past.
Has there been a moment this summer that you kind of said, all right, I'm locked in now, that there was a certain at bat or maybe even a walk? I remember a couple at bats against Brewster. That was one of the more impressive at bats we've seen, that 8-pitch walk against Patrick Forbes and his high velocity. Has there been a moment like that so far this summer?
Yeah, I'd say that Brewster game for sure. Just proving to myself that I can handle a bat with two strikes or behind in the count against really, really, really good arms. Like he's going to be probably a day one draft pick next year. Proving to myself I can do that and get hits out of it. And I mean that was big for me to grow the confidence going forward.
How much of a mental hurdle is using the wood bat? Because we always speculate, right? It's like, oh, it's a 2-week adjustment period. Oh, the pitchers had the advantage the first month of the season. From a guy who's actually using that bat every single day and then uses the alternative in the spring at school, what does it really feel like?
I've always been a fan of wood bats. I mean, this is my third summer playing summer ball, and I feel like I've gotten used to it. I feel like it suits me well as a guy who's gonna have pretty good bat control, finding the barrel. I prefer it honestly, just from a like comparison to other players type of thing, because I'm not a guy that's gonna hit a bunch of homers. But for some guys, they notice a big difference. For me, I swing a lot of wood bats during the season even, so I'm pretty used to it, pretty comfortable with it.
This is like you said, your third season playing summer ball, 2 years over in the West Coast League with Victoria. Now you're at the big stage. You're playing in the Cape Cod Baseball League. You're really succeeding as well. I think a number came out. You're hitting over 400 over the past 15 games here in July. What is so different from the West Coast League to the Cape League in terms of the talent that you're facing every single day?
Just the pitching's consistently better. I'd say every once in a while in the WCL you'd see 92, 93. You're seeing that every night, if not better than that. I mean, it's a whole different mindset. You have to be locked in every single pitch of the game, whereas you kind of can get away with not preparing as well, I guess, for games out there since you're not seeing the velocity and the stuff. But yeah, for me, it's just really trying to be consistent, pitch in, pitch out, making sure I'm on time because if I'm off time, it's there's no shot against how good these guys are.
How important is it? I know you like to talk a lot with us about what you're seeing at the plate, what your approach is at the plate. And you even said it a couple answers ago. It's like, I know I'm not a guy who's going to hit all these home runs. Like, we see guy in Brewster, Daniel Cuvée, this guy's hitting 470-foot moonshots. He knows what he can do. But you know what you can do. How important is it, especially in a league like this where you can't fool around, to know who you are as a player and where you have the most success?
It's very important. I mean, we talked about at Gonzaga, like recognizing who you are on the team and filling that role. I know I'm a guy who's supposed to get on base, have long at bats, be a tough out. So knowing that, like I'm going to be aggressive in counts because if I get my pitch, I'm going to hit it where I want to. If I get behind the count, I know I'm good enough to take pitches, work long at bats. So just knowing who you are is really important. I mean, um, I'd say that also builds the confidence. I mean, consistently now hitting in the one hole, that I know what I need to do consistently to stay in the lineup and consistently to stay hitting well, you know.
With the Firebirds and the roster changing on an everyday basis, like you said, playing consistently, you have to earn that. You have to continue to hit every single day, or else someone's going to come and take your spot. How has it been with the coaching staff, with Kelly Nicholson, the new hitting coach Brock Bond, and everybody else in terms of working with you during the summer?
I mean, it's good. I mean, we're out there consistently doing our early hitting, you know, working on things. I try to bounce ideas off of Brock because he's pretty knowledgeable. I'd say he's pretty similar like hitter to what I am when he was playing. So it's nice to bounce things off of him. It's nice to Kelly's not shy with sharing like who's coming in, who's coming out. So it's nice to know who's going to be there and who's not. Like I think we have an Army guy coming in who can play everywhere. That'll be big once I don't know, we could have a couple more guys get popped in the draft. So it'll be nice to know who's coming in and coming out. But yeah, that helps build that consistency. Like we've had a pretty consistent lineup the last few games, and it's starting to click with the hits and the runs being scored.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm looking at the stats in front of me. You know, you guys start the year 44 runs in your first 19 games as a team. I know that's a number you guys don't even care to even think about anymore because you've scored 28 runs as a team in your last 4 games. So I understand it's a 1 through 9 thing, and you individually are having a lot of success at the top of the order right now. But when you look at the at-bats that other guys are having, you know, Ben Ziegler mentioned it to us after your big win at YD a couple days ago. We're starting to take at-bats for each other. How difficult is that in a league like this where everybody not only wants to have team success, but you guys want to prove that you can get it done too?
Yeah, it's difficult, man. Again, it goes back to knowing your role. You know, the most impressive at bat from that YD game was infield in 0-2 count. Bennett Markinson just battling hard pitches off and then finally chopping a ball to get a run in to tie the game. I mean, that was a big momentum swing that we finally didn't leave someone out there to drive in scoring position. We got him in playing solid baseball, battling with 2 strikes. So I mean, just it goes back to knowing your role, not trying to do too much when those guys are at second and third base, and just trying to put the ball in play and make things happen.
We've mentioned the team at bats. This lineup is really starting to come together. Who's a guy, as we start to talk about everyone else on the team, who you really enjoy going up there and seeing hit every single day on the Firebirds?
Ben's fun to watch. I he takes amazing BP from a guy who myself likes to spray the opposite field. It's impressive what he does during batting practice, and then to take it to the game, he's just not missing the barrel right now. So it's really fun to watch.
And then not only is the cool part of summer ball seeing this, right, what you mentioned, Bennett, this Northwestern catcher, you've probably never played him, maybe never heard of him. You're like, who's this guy? I got to watch him. Maybe I can pick up a thing or two from him. But you've also playing with your Gonzaga teammate in Miles Gastola, who I know maybe we don't, you know, it's a little secret hush hush, but he's starting tonight against Chatham, and this is coming out on Monday morning. You know, this kid just gets it done too. You know, Dylan loves you guys. He loves the Gonzaga kids, but he loves Miles because he doesn't throw the hardest, but he just gets outs. How cool is it to be out here with him?
That's awesome, man. I've known Miles for since junior year of high school now. He's always been a stud. I mean, his junior year, he broke Blake Snell's strikeout record in Washington State. Backed it up with another good year his senior year. I mean, he's always known how to pitch, and he's starting to figure it out with his breaking ball pitch. He's always had a good changeup, but I mean, he's able to pitch backwards and he's able to use his fastball late in counts. And it seems firmer than it actually is just because he's able to mix.
I think the two instances we saw that was the 2 strikeouts on Daniel Cuvée against Brewster, his last outing on the high fastballs at his eyes. Let's move over to the pitching staff. We talked about Miles, a pitching staff that's been top 3, top 4 in the entire CCBL for pretty much the entire summer. How has it been from an offensive standpoint, knowing that most of the time every arm out there is going to keep you guys in the game?
I mean, it's nice for sure. We definitely felt bad about it to open up the year, being in so many one-run ball games and not being able to get done. It was like, dang. but it's starting to click. I mean, it now that the offense is rolling, we know we always have a shot because they're going to keep it below 5 runs somewhere in there, and that's not enough to beat us, in my opinion. So, since we started consistently hitting,
You mentioned it earlier. I might steal that phrase from you guys getting popped for the draft. It's going to start happening today, July 14th, tomorrow when this podcast comes out through the 15th and the 16th. I know we were talking about the pitching, but one guy who's probably going to get popped pretty early is Hadim Zhao, Loyola Marymount. I don't know if you ran into him at all in college, but talk about a professional hitter, right? You pick up anything from him when he was here?
Um, I mean, I didn't talk to him personally about hitting, but watching him, for a big guy like that, very physical person to not try and swing out of his shoes all the time. He consistently pounded the opposite side of the field, especially with 1, 2 strikes. Like it was very impressive. He looked very mature at the plate from that standpoint. He's controlled the strike zone, was never beat by the fastball. It was very impressive to watch.
We saw him last year and also saw him this summer in Sean Matson. And something that's really come about in the first 20, 22 games, whatever the Firebirds have played, has been you guys really looking up to him. And the name captain comes around. You guys call him captain. He's most likely leaving. And he's going to be getting picked in the draft, whether it be day 2 or day 3, maybe even day 1. How is that hole going to be filled? Because you have a guy that you look up to, and now he's on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, Sean, he's such a good dude, great guy to be around. Definitely a natural born leader. Someone we like to be around and look up to. But I think we're lucky, man. We got Tucker Biven from Louisville. He closed all year. So I think we have somebody to fill that spot who's just gonna lock it down in those later innings of the game.
What's the most important formula, I guess? I know there's no perfect formula, right? But for team success in summer ball, right? You mentioned it. It's your third go around with summer ball. You've seen how to win and you've seen what I guess, bad summer ball teams look like. What's the key to make sure that everyone stays locked in and like you said, team at bats and just, it's a long summer, but how do you make sure that guys want to be here for a little bit longer than just a couple weeks into July and move it into August?
Yeah, I'd say just, staying with an approach. I mean, it's hard to score runs, especially against the pitching out here. But if we're consistently barreling baseballs, stuff will start to fall. And I think that's what you're finally starting to see. We're starting to work good at bats. We're not striking out as much. We're putting the ball in play. So we just continue to do that and get good starting pitching. It's a good recipe for success.
A statement that's been echoed by almost everyone around the team is that there's a lot of ball to be played. And although the Firebirds throughout the first 23 games have only won 7 games, you guys, it almost feels being around the team every day that things are turning. And we talked about the offensive numbers, talked about the pitching being really good, and you guys just beating East leading Yarmouth Dennis as well. When you look at the next 17 games, depending on how many you have to win, 2 games behind of Harwich, how do you not get caught up in that stuff and kind of just play your game knowing things will work out?
Yeah, just taking it one pitch at a time, one game at a time. You can't get all three of those games back in one game. Kelly continues to say that and preach it. I mean, and he's right. You can't look forward, you can't look behind. You can only focus on what's going on right now and doing the best you can in the game that day.
All right, let's talk about some of the fun stuff here, not the win-loss and the standings. There's a reason why you're on this podcast today, Hudson. You like to talk to us, which we appreciate because we're weird dudes. But let's say you go on, you have this great baseball career, right? And who knows where it takes you. You have any interest in doing this afterwards?
I would. If you asked me that a few years ago, maybe not, because I'm more of a introverted person, believe it or not.
Hmm.
But yeah, and I mean, I love baseball. I want to play as long as possible, and then once it's over, I want to stay around the game, whether it's coaching, scouting, broadcast, general manager, front office work. I love the game, and I want to be around it. I want to be able to take my kid to the ball game all the time. I mean, that's something I look forward to after my baseball career ends.
I know you're a big fan of the Seattle Mariners as well, growing up in Washington and being a fan of Major League Baseball. Are there any broadcasters that you like? and that you, I don't know if look up to is, but maybe, say, I really like how this guy talks about baseball?
Rick Riz, for sure. Growing up, listening to him on the radio. Always loved his voice. Always loved how he described the game. That would be probably my pick. And then Dave Sims, watching the Root Sports broadcasts. But yeah, those would be my two.
You think he'd have, I know, because, look, if you get in the broadcasting, you're smarter than us when it comes to baseball. You'll be the analyst, right? You'll be the one who's saying why this guy did this, why this change was made there. But let's say you had a home run call, right? You're doing the play by play. Do you have oh, that's going to be, we're Yankee fans, so we think Michael K. There it goes. See ya.
Hmm.
Would you have a signature home run call?
I haven't thought of one yet. I'd have to give that more thought. It need to sound good, but trying to think of ones I like.
Games for the Yankees.
Yeah, yeah. I like the Giants guy. He's nice and laid back, relaxed, doesn't get overly excited, but still has some emotion to it. That's pretty good. Yeah, I can't. I think Matt Vescursion's pretty good. He gets into it.
Yes.
It's not the same every time, but it gets the job done. I mean, I'm calling like Otani and stuff in the postseason, so I think he does a really good job.
Yeah, even he's got that signature home run call with the Santa Maria call, and
Hmm.
no one's pulling that out in a game but him. But
Yeah.
you know what? Maybe give you a little more time. We got you behind the mic in that Falmouth game. You did pretty well. A little fog delay theater. And I think maybe we'll get you on the podcast again later this summer. You'll be ready to roll for the big leagues. But I know you're not concerned about that right now. All right, Hudson, we're gonna let you go because you gotta get ready for this big game against
Yeah.
Chatham. But appreciate you joining us here on the Weekly Burn, and you're welcome anytime to tell us what the good word is with the Firebirds.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.